Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And in today's video, we're going to be doing some EDH updates, which I honestly can't remember the last time I filmed this video. It might have been in maybe the summertime or so. Basically, I like to film these every couple months just to kind of talk about, like, if I'm building anything new, what changes I'm making to my commander decks, all that stuff. Cats are in here. Who knows what's going to happen? Like, I don't know. Can you see her? Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. That's Zelda making her little appearance on camera, you know, living her best cat life. Anyways, so EDH updates. Basically, I normally feel like I'll come on here and be like, oh guys, I'm bringing up like this new project, like this is this new thing that I'm doing. And the reality of the situation is I really don't have that, actually. Is I've decided instead to take some step backs and instead work on bettering my commander decks. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about that as like an overview, and I want to talk about some specifics with my commander decks and all that stuff. So basically, I guess we'll first start kind of talking about like the general overview about how everything's going. So basically, I have definitely been acquiring cards, and I've definitely been doing that. And I'm kind of at like this mix, I would say, where like part of me is working through and focusing on what cards I need. So what I did is I kind of sat down with a couple of my decks and looked at cards that I wanted to take out, and I realized that I've really just been trying to like lower my curve a lot in my commander decks and be really selective about the cards that are like 5, 6, 7, whatever mana. And that's to say that I'm taking out all those cards. That's not what I'm saying. But I am being way more selective about cards that I'm being really specific and really pinpointing what are the cards that at higher CMCs I want to play. And I'm really focusing on my early game and making sure that I'm accelerating, that I'm drawing cards or whatever. So I went through and basically was focusing on like, what does my CMC look like? I also looked at my card draw. I went through and found that I needed a couple of key card draw pieces in a couple of my different decks, so I did that. And those were kind of like the two major things that I really, really did, is I went through and I looked at what I needed, basically. So I've done that, and I've gathered a lot of cards that I am in the process of still acquiring. For me, this is always just kind of going to be a work in progress. It's not going to be like something where it's like, oh, this deck is 100% finalized, checkbox, we did it. There's always going to be things that are going to be changing. Like even with Tasigur, as much as I'm happy about that, I recently bought like a training grounds for that deck, which means that I can activate Tasigur for a total of 2 mana instead of 4 mana, his ability, which is great. So there's kind of always going to be things that I'm always going to be interested in getting, like Ancient Tombs, for example. I'm kind of waiting, to be honest with you guys, on like an Ancient Tomb reprint, and then I want to pick up a bunch because I just want it for everything. Mana Crypt is the same way. I really want to own, I don't own any Mana Crypts, and I would love to own. Paul owns one, and I'm so jealous. And I really want one. My mana base as well too is something, there were like there were a couple of key pieces of things that I just like didn't have. Like I was like playing Riku, which I'm going to talk more about Riku in a second. And okay, sorry about that, guys. So basically I had been thinking through and like had a better like the deck. So for example for Riku, I basically like was fetching or whatever, and I was getting a land, and I realized that I didn't have all like the shocklands in the deck, and I still think I'm actually missing one, which is probably like the next time I order cards, that'll be what I pick up. I'm still working on getting a couple of the cheaper foils, and I'm kind of trying to change my orders up in a sense, where basically before, the way that I looked at it, where I was like, oh, I want to go on and buy a bunch of cards, and I was like, okay, I'll go and buy a bunch of cards, and I will, hold on, guys, I gotta kick Zelda out. She's being a nightmare. 1 second. Guys, I had to kick Zelda out. She keeps interrupting the video, and it's, 1, distracting to me, and 2, it's like she's just sitting in front of the camera, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that. Anyways, so basically, I'm kind of changing up my orders, where basically, like, the other day I placed an order, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna buy, like, a couple of, like, the cheaper foils that I need, but, also, I bought myself, like, a more expensive, like, card, like the Training Grounds, that's gonna make Tasigur better, right? So it's, like, I'm kind of, like, trying to balance out my orders, so I'm kind of doing that. There's a couple pieces that I'm still, like I said, I'm waiting on, like, Ancient Tombs and Mana Crypts to get reprints, because that's something that I want to get for, a couple of my different commander decks. And so that's something that I really want to get. And yeah, it's still, like I said, it's just the whole thing is like a work in progress, right? It's like it's never something that's going to be fully done, but I'm working on getting through it. And so that's that. But then I've been mentioning and hinting at Riku a lot in this video, and I really want to jump into this because, guys, this deck is absolutely insane, and I am going to be filming an updated deck tech for you guys. I'm going to be probably filming it around in December is what I think I decided I want to do. It's either December or November where I'm going to film it. So it'll be up probably in December or January. And basically the reason why I'm filming it, because I think I filmed the deck tech either earlier this year or like last year. And the deck has actually just undergone like a ton of changes. It's gotten so much better, and it's so incredibly ridiculous, guys. Like, it is, I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's my most powerful deck. Like, the other day, gosh, guys, this is insane. So basically, I was playing with my friends, and I played Riku, and I had a Leyline of Anticipation, so all my stuff had flash. So I played Time Warp, the one that's 5 mana that lets you take an extra turn. So I played that, and then I copied it with Riku. So at this point, I only had 2 extra turns. So then I did that, and then I played Expropriate, and then I copied it twice with something else, and so with Riku and something else. And so then I played Expropriate. So then from that, I got 7 extra turns, I think. So I had a total of 9 extra turns that I take, and then everyone was like, okay, we're done. So anyways, stuff like that. It's super crazy. And this also, too, I just want to note, was on turn, like, 8, maybe 7. It was something like that. I was mana ramping like crazy, and it was so incredibly cool. And if you're like, wow, that's really insane, Tracy, don't worry. Everyone proceeded to kill me very early in the next game because they were pretty upset. So anyways, there was balance in the force. So the deck has gotten absolutely ridiculous. Like, the Expropriate has been insane. I also got Plea for Power, which is really great. The Time Warp, there's just a couple of key pieces that just make this deck absolutely ridiculous and totally off the wall, and I absolutely love it. It's so different from anything else I play. Like, I'm not out here trying to really attack you with creatures. Like, that's not the end game. There's, like, the infinite combos. I think I have 2 in the deck. Or it's like just taking a bunch of extra turns, and at that point people are like, okay, like, the game is probably over, which it probably is. So, anyways, yeah, the deck is super fun. I'm really excited to be filming that deck tech for you guys. And then, that's a deck that I feel really confident about. And I think I kind of mentioned this in, like, my previous videos, where I was really trying to make, like, my 4th, you know what I mean? Because I had my other powerful decks, like Avacyn, Tasigur, and Omnath, and I was really happy with how those were playing. And then I just was kind of like, I really wanted like a 4th. Like, I really wanted a commander deck that was on par with that. And then Paul's like, this deck is better. Like, it's better than all those other things because of all these things that you're able to do. And so I'd actually been talking to one of my friends about, like, the consistency in the deck, because he had a Riku deck a while back, and he was like, honestly, the deck just didn't feel as consistent to me. And I really disagree. I feel like the deck is very consistent. I mean, like, it has a lot of answers. It has a lot of ways of dealing with other people's things. The card draw is really ridiculous. The extra turns, like, all this sort of stuff. So, anyways, I love this deck so much. I'm so excited for you guys to see an updated version of it, because I think you guys are going to be like, this is absolutely wild, and it's so fun. I love it. So, that's Riku. The other project that I kind of want to talk about in, like, kind of in a mood shift here is Merfolk. And I really don't know what to do with this deck, guys, because I feel like when I have all my choices of what I want to play, I always just feel like I play something else. And it bums me out, because it's a good deck, and I think it's really fun. I just think it's like, I'm not someone who goes and, like, takes decks apart a lot, and so it would really bum me to take it apart, because I feel like I've invested, like, a lot into that deck in terms of, like, money and, like, resources and, like, pieces and stuff, but I'm just not, like, happy with it. You know what I mean? And I think the other thing that bumps me out, too, is if I take it apart, I don't feel like there's a lot of pieces that I would keep, because it's, like, very specific, very niche cards. But honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I just am convinced that I don't want this deck anymore, because it's just, I'm just not happy with it. I'm just not. That's the reality of the situation. Is I feel like every time I want to play, like, a tribal deck, I play zombies instead, and I enjoy zombies way more than I enjoy Merfolk. But yeah, I just think I basically had it for a while and I just like didn't touch it and didn't do anything with it. I haven't played it in a very long time. And it's funny, the last time I actually played it, I actually did really well with it. It's kind of one of those decks. I think the reason why is because it's one of those decks where the highs are so high, but the lows are so low. And it feels like a very inconsistent deck for me, and I don't like that. When I'm building a commander deck, I'm very concerned with it being well-rounded. I don't want to build a deck that's, for example, a glass cannon. I don't want to build something like that. I want to build something that like I'm going to try my best to explain this. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. But I would rather build a deck that like loses like 40% of the time, but it's pretty solidly consistent, is able to draw cards consistently, is able to mana accelerate well, than a deck that is incredibly and ridiculously powerful, but like wins 10% of the time. Does that make sense? And some people are searching for that, like, I just want to be the most powerful constantly at all times, and for me, that's just not what I look for. So for Riku, for example, I'm able to pretty consistently win with that deck, which is pretty impressive, because it's like there should be people that are stopping me that are doing that. And don't get me wrong, that definitely happens. Like I'm not always winning, but I'm winning a pretty consistent amount of the time. And I'm also doing really powerful things. And that's what I strive for. And I think with Merfolk, it's like, I don't know how to get it to that point. You know what I mean? I just don't. I think it's like, my friend Logan said this. He's like, I think sometimes like you just hit a cap with the deck where you're like, this is the most powerful. This is the most I can do with it. And then I feel like I've hit that and I'm not happy with where it is. I think with like Riku, for example, or like Reen is another really good example of a deck that I feel like I have not tapped into the maximum I'm able to do with that deck. I feel like we can keep going. And that is so incredibly cool to me. And I feel like I couldn't find that in Merfolk, and that really bums me out. So yeah, I think the as I'm talking about this, I am going to take that deck apart, which bums me out. But I think the reality of the situation is I am just working on bettering all my other stuff, and this gives me more of a time to focus on other things. And like I said, before I'm even ready to consider another deck, I really want to focus on getting these other decks to where I am. I would say I'm really focusing right now. There's a couple of key things that I want to get for Reen, for ladies. That's another deck that I really want to get to. That deck has actually changed quite a bit too. I think I'm due for a deck tech in, I don't remember if it's next year. I'll probably film a deck tech updated one. So that's definitely something that I am, going to be looking out for, that I am going to be doing. But yeah, it's just kind of like getting a couple of key pieces that are going to really make that really powerful and way more consistent. So yeah, guys, I think that's everything for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'd really like to know if there's any new projects that you're looking out to do. I'm always really interested to hear about like what cool things people are doing. So anyways, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you in my next one.